Welcome everyone. Let's dig into Ethereum's revolutionary idea of account abstraction and how ERC 4337 is reshaping crypto wallets.
I'm absolutely pumped about this. What a shift from traditional EOAs, right?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, account abstraction it's like taking the control of crypto assets and shifting them from externally owned accounts to smart contracts. It's designed to smooth out the bumps in the usual blockchain experience.
Right, so instead of having a bunch of fiddly technical hurdles like managing private keys, users can have a much simpler interface.
Exactly, it's about concealing the complexities behind user interactions on decentralized apps. When you think about it, the traditional model required you to sign every transaction with your private key and then pay gas fees. That can be a headache.
Absolutely, and not to mention the constant fear of misplacing that key and losing everything.
Right. And that's where ERC 4337 comes into play. It's a standard that lets developers create smart contract wallets. Ones like Argent, Ambire, Safe, and Bravos. This standard ingeniously avoids making changes to Ethereum's underlying protocol while still offering advanced wallet features.
So wait, how exactly does ERC 437 manage to do all this without a protocol overhaul?
Good question. It introduces what's called a user operation, sort of a pseudo-transaction that represents what the user wants to do.
Right.
Instead of the typical transaction flow, these operations are gathered in an alt mempool, then bundled by a participant known as a bundler, which packages them into one net transaction that is sent to a special smart contract called the entry point.
Wow, so it's like a one-stop dispatch system that processes all your intended actions.
Precisely. The bundler acts almost like a postman, carrying multiple operations to the entry point, where each operation gets validated via a function called validate-user-op. This not only automates the process, but also minimizes manual intervention and reduces the technical burden on the user.
That does sound impressive, but doesn't it also introduce a failure point if, like, the bundler messes up or if the network misbehaves a little?
I can see why you'd be concerned. However, the system it's designed to be redundant. Plus, there's only one entry point, so it centralizes verification, meaning Discord-like errors become much easier to track and fix. It's like having a centralized reception where every check-in is verified properly.
Interesting analogy there. But what about security? I mean, if assets are solely controlled by smart contracts, aren't new vulnerabilities introduced?
A fair point. Yet, in this scenario, the reliance on a private key is eliminated, which means much less exposure. Instead of the keys controlling assets directly, they only participate in authorizing the smart contract's actions. This makes the system inherently safer against certain attacks, like key theft, because even if someone had your key, they wouldn't have direct asset access.
That's a huge plus. And I understand Vitalik Buterin himself sees account abstraction as key to mass adoption of Ethereum, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Vitalik, along with other top figures, regards account abstraction as the catalyst needed to attract mainstream users by streamlining interactions. It's all about making Web3 not just a playground for crypto enthusiasts, but a practical, everyday tool for everyone.
Speaking of user-friendliness, I've read that ERC 4337 supports features like two-factor authentication and even biometrics. That's quite banking-like, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's like a marriage between traditional financial security and blockchain innovation. With these features, users no longer have to memorize long seed phrases or worry about losing their wallet if they lose a device.
So, it's essentially reducing human error while boosting overall security. I like that trade-off.
Exactly. And it also introduces options for social recovery. This means you can designate trusted individuals or devices to help recover your account in case of a mishap. Think of it as having a digital safety net made up of your friends, family, or even a secure hardware like Ledger.
That's reassuring, but don't you think depending on social recovery might introduce risks if one of those contacts isn't as secure?
You're right to raise that, and it's a valid concern. While social recovery definitely eases the process, it requires careful selection of trusted parties.
Yeah, absolutely.
But overall, the benefits seem to tip the balance quite favorably compared to the traditional model.
I can see that. And then there's the whole idea of multi-user operations. With EOAs, you couldn't share access without giving away full control, could you?
Exactly. Account abstraction lets us design wallets where multiple, approvals are needed before any move. It's sort of like a joint bank account where 2 or more signatures are required to withdraw funds. This not only enhances security, but also opens up possibilities for collaborative projects on the blockchain.
That must be a game changer for businesses and even for groups managing shared funds.
Absolutely. It's a flexible setup that fits many scenarios. Also, ERC 4337 isn't just limited to Ethereum. It works on compatible chains like Polygon, Avalanche, and Arbitrum, which shows its forward-thinking nature.
Right on.
It basically bridges different blockchain environments without compromising on functionality.
It sounds like ERC 4337 might just be the next big leap towards achieving what many call the Web3 revolution.
Yes, exactly. By eliminating seed phrase reliance and reducing human errors, it takes a big step towards making crypto accessible to the masses. Plus, with its seamless integration into the user experience, it's a win-win for security and usability.
You mentioned earlier about smart contract wallets like Argent. They even offer specialized functions for social recovery. How do these differ from, say, traditional wallets like MetaMask?
Well, traditional wallets like MetaMask rely entirely on your private key, which means any slip-up could be catastrophic. In contrast, wallets built using ERC 4337's account abstraction can incorporate multi-factor authentication, social recovery, and even time-bound transaction limits. This multi-dimensional security strategy is a huge leap in reducing risks and making crypto more reassurance-friendly for average users.
And this might be exactly what we need to onboard new users who are currently intimidated by the whole process.
Precisely. It's all about lowering the barrier to entry. For the uninitiated, blockchain can seem like a labyrinth of technical jargon and high stakes. But with account abstraction, the underlying magic is handled behind the scenes, letting users interact in a more familiar way.
I really appreciate this approach, but I wonder if making everything so abstract might hide too much of what's really going on, potentially leading to new types of issues down the line.
That's an interesting challenge and a fair critique. While hiding complexities benefits usability, transparency is still crucial. The key lies in striking the right balance between abstraction and user awareness. There must be clear interfaces that inform users about how their transactions are being processed without overwhelming them.
Right, so it's about empowering users without leaving them in the dark. That balance is tough but essential.
Exactly. And the development of ERC 4337 has been very collaborative, with input from many experts including Vitalik Buterin. This collective insight helps ensure that while we're abstracting complexity, we're not abstracting away control or transparency entirely. Developers are constantly iterating to deliver both efficiency and clarity.
So, in essence, account abstraction with ERC 4337 is making Ethereum more practical, secure, and user-friendly, all without sacrificing the decentralization that makes blockchain so powerful.
Absolutely. It's a paradigm shift, moving from a one-size-fits-all model to a customizable, secure, and more accessible system.
That's truly fascinating. It looks like account abstraction might just pave the way for the broader adoption of Web3 technologies in everyday life.
Yep. And as these innovations keep evolving, we're bound to see even more creative solutions emerging. From boosting user experience to ensuring top-notch security, the future of crypto seems as bright as ever.
Well, this has been an incredibly insightful chat. I'm looking forward to seeing how these changes will transform the landscape of decentralized applications.
Definitely. And for anyone diving into ERC 4337 and account abstraction, there's a lot of depth to explore. Thanks for tuning in, and here's to a more accessible future in Web3.
Cheers to that.